Have you ever wondered what hiring managers actually want to see on your resume? Are you tired of reading countless advice from so-called resume experts about what you should include in your resume? Here at Let's See Grandma, we believe that the best resumes are the ones that are actually geared towards hiring decision makers. So we're talking recruiters or the actual hiring managers. We've made it a part of our philosophy to talk to as many of those hiring decision makers as we can so we can know how to write the best resume. This month we conducted a panel to help you in your job search. Which resumes put you in the S pile? Which resumes belong in the trash? Do you submit it as a PDF or Word doc? These questions and so much more will be answered during this presentation, and we hope you enjoy. All right, first question is putting resumes in the yes pile. For our hiring decision makers, what is really the one thing in the resume that gets you to pick up the phone and call somebody for an interview or email? And the way we'll do this, we'll start on this end and then work way over. Yeah.
So what I really look at is, and in all honesty, and this is like probably something that I shouldn't say at a resume building workshop, but I focus a lot on that top part that talks about those bullet points of the skills that you have and that you've developed over your career basically. Your experience obviously is very important. It's something that you build with and you grow with as a person. So it's what you're going to talk through as you're in these interviews and as you're in these conversations. But really those key strengths at the very top that really highlight that managerial experience or just things that you're proud of. Put that right up top because those are things that get us excited as well. We look at those things and of course again, like the experience is something that this person came from IBM, so they're really smart, let's bring them in the door. But if those key skills at the top aren't as strong, then they really aren't as important, I guess, as somebody else who hadn't really built that out and really focused on that first.
So that's the summary you're talking about.
Right.
With that's prime real estate in a resume. I'm always telling people to put focus in that, but yeah, go ahead.
Question about that?
Yeah.
So what makes a set of skills strong?
Sure. So being able to kind of talk about what that skill is. So not just saying good project management experience, but give me specifics. What did you project manage? How many people were on that team? As much details you can get into without obviously over explaining what happened, because you don't want a bullet point that's 7 lines long. No one's going to ever read that. And obviously your ability to be concise is something that's important here too. But just really explaining that story and giving those details about what it is that you did in order to accomplish these skills, or in order to feel like this is something that you're comfortable enough to put on your resume.
Awesome.
So there's a saying that you're perfect twice in your life. That's when you're born and on your resume. So make sure that is correct, and that's why you can facilitate that. But that's true. So you look at something, what I'm looking for is, obviously someone's going to put something positive forward. No one's ever going to say, I'm bad at this on the resume. You're never going to see it. So you kind of have to disseminate and kind of dig deep on some highlights in there. And a resume to me should look like in history, right? We don't talk about certain things in history that are irrelevant. We talk about what happened first or what happened last and why it's relevant and what created events past that. So I'm looking for people on resumes, not only a good why about what they want, why do we get up every single day? Why do you do anything? Right? Do you care? Right? Because there's intangibles I can't teach beyond resume, but I don't want to spend a whole lot of time sifting for people that are just kind of I don't know, maybe I want the job to get there.
Sure.
Right? So seeing that why, but also seeing, like she said, is what they accomplished. What did you actually do? And what makes you proud of what you did? And how will that translate into whatever else you're doing? Because skills translate in many different places. It doesn't matter if you're selling wine, and it doesn't matter or if you're working in a warehouse. Hard work and skills translate. So you just got to see those milestones and accomplishments and their ability to do that.
I'm sure that's encouraging for career changers as well.
Sure.
Cool. All right, Brian.
I'm sorry, before you go on, just a quick question.
Yeah.
What you said a good why. What does a good why look like versus someone who's just half-assing it?
Sure. So we all have different whys. But your why has to be bigger than your adversity. If it's not, you'll never get back up. Right? So everybody's why is different. Some people's why is their family, and that's a big why. Your children, your family, things that inspire you, things that you see in the world that need to be changed, that are unfair, right? So you just kind of find that within yourself, I can't answer that for everybody because everybody's a little different on it. I've got some pretty big whys, and that's why I keep going. And so I always urge people to find that within yourself, no matter what it is and what's important to you.
And that makes sense. I'm just wondering how you translate that onto a resume.
Right. So I guess ultimately, speak passionately about not necessarily, not everyone is excited about what they're going to do, but what they can do with what they're getting involved with. So that can translate as, I want to be the best tech professional in this area possible because I want to accomplish these other goals in my personal life, and I want to go forward here in my life, and I want to do this, and I want to do that. Like, I want to have a nice house, I want to, travel, but I want to be the best professional and be the best of what I do, right? You can be the best basketball player and make a lot of money, or the best, motivational speaker and make a lot of money. So it's your why that will make you the best at whatever you're trying to focus.
And a LinkedIn summary of qualifications is actually an excellent place to plant your why. And that's something I advocate for. I put it in my LinkedIn summary. It's like why you're in the industry you're in. And because recruiters are always on LinkedIn, they're checking it out. So another good opportunity there. Cool. All right.
Yeah. So when I'm looking at resumes, I'm actually everything that they just said. I look at the top, the summary. I read that. It's the first thing I read. If there's bulleted skill sets that they want to highlight, that really catches your eye. But I actually like to read resumes in reverse order. Most people put the most recent experience at the top. I like to start from the back and work my way up because in my mind, when I'm looking at that, it gives me a sense of how that person has grown and where their interests and skill sets have evolved from job to job. And depending on the position, obviously, I'm looking at specific skill sets, but I'm also looking at how that person on paper and what the best they can represent that on paper, how that would fit within the team, right? So as I mentioned, I'm managing multiple mobile development teams focused on e-commerce, but I don't want teams where all senior developers are there or all junior developers. It's a nice cross blend. So depending on what the vacancy is, maybe I have a couple of strong seniors and there's some intrinsic value that they can get by having somebody else so they can mentor and grow, as well as that person can grow within the company and be vested and staying and contributing. So those are some of the things that I'm looking at.
Great answers so far. And we have a few more that we're going to delve into here, so get excited. Sad Kitty, what makes you put resumes in the no pile? What is, I know, I want to cry just looking at that. I debated whether or not to include that. I almost regret it now. But,
I have some big ones because obviously you want it to be organized, you want things to be spelled correctly, but a lot of times we'll get candidates through Indeed.com, and for one, they either have not everything filled out, which is just frustrating because it's like if you can't fill out this Indeed post, and I get what Chris said a moment ago, where you're filling out all these documents, you've got to fill it out again. It's like I just answered all these questions. Why am I doing this? But at the same time, like that extra, little bit of effort, putting some time into those answers and things like that translates so well. Because even people who, have that opportunity to have the cover letter in the beginning, even if they don't, upload their cover letter and then have that whole spiel, if they add just a little paragraph about themselves that tells me what they're interested in, I love things like that because it's like, okay, now I know what you're looking for, and then I can dig into your resume and say, and you can back it up with evidence and kind of experience based on what you just said, versus the person who really doesn't paint the full picture and you're kind of going, this is a mixed bag, I have no idea what to expect. So, I'm assuming all of you have completely full resumes. My only suggestion, I guess, would be as you look at different avenues and different places, make sure all of that is really cleaned up and really thorough, because that's, a make or break situation, pretty much.
cool. Good point.
Bob? It depends on the department, right? Because we have different needs for our company. So when it comes to like ops or construction, you're looking for relevant kind of information that applies to that job. So when we look at our construction piece, obviously we want someone that has that type of experience or type of experience that can translate, right? So we just hired somebody that was working on airplanes, electrical parts, that we knew that could transfer over to solar, right? Because there's not a lot of people in solar. So we know we're gonna take people and train them, we know that they could. So just that relevant experience, right? So if you're applying for something, I'm sure you can have 3 or 4 different versions of resumes depending on what you're applying for. Yeah, or whatever it is. You know, to at least make something translate is what I look for. How does it translate? As far as what I do, so if it doesn't translate at all, I'm just like, nah, no. Our sales, to be honest, like, I really don't say no until I meet them. I'll all comers on sales, because if you have the courage to come in and talk to me about wanting to do it, we hit you pretty hard in the interview about what it is and what it means and what it takes, because we're looking for the 1 in 50. So we have to go through a lot of people to get people that are ready for that type of position. So
Sure.
there's really no on that paper. It's usually, well, they tell us no, because once we tell them what they're going to have to do, they're like, I don't want to. They tell us no.
Awesome, thank you.
Yep.
Ryan?
Yeah, so a lot of it boils down to the skill set, right? The experience, but they don't necessarily have to be, like I mentioned in my last answer, look for a spectrum. So if I'm looking for an Android developer, what have they done? And even if they're brand new and maybe they have no professional experience in Android, on the resume, is it recorded that they've done some type of boot camp? Have they done some projects themselves and launched something on their own into the App Store? That I look for things like that. If that's not there, and again, like you said, if it doesn't translate, then it's not something looking at taking somebody that has no experience and they might like it. If they haven't even tried it, if they haven't had any type of knowledge or skill set, and showed on the resume that they've put some effort in that direction and not just randomly applying for something, right? Because you get a lot of those. It's like I'm looking for something and just the shotgun spread, right? And just applying for every open position that's out there. So, yeah.
Do you guys show preference for college degrees or university degrees or anything like that? Is that something that you check for?
So for me, no, I don't. I'll answer that with a caveat. So it depends on the position. Like especially a technical, I'm looking more for what their experience and skill set is, more so than a degree. Right? I'm somebody that got my bachelor's degree later in life. I didn't think as soon as I got that piece of paper I was more qualified doing the job I was doing at the time. But it does, understandably, open up doors for certain positions. But as far as development and IT related, can they do the job? It's almost, and I often refer to it as a scientific artist. Right? So can somebody paint the Mona Lisa? Does it matter if they went to school? But it's not applicable to all positions, obviously.
Quote you on that, that's awesome.
Yeah.
This next one speaks to, go ahead.
So, how would I take something that's a hobby and put that, one of the things in resumes now, they're like, don't put any organizations or things that you do, but I've refereed high school and middle school basketball games.
Yeah.
I mean, that's when you talk about crowd control and being able to take 10 angry teenage boys and getting them to be quiet and listen and, take my commands. Everybody, different resume writers that I've used, they're like, that's not, you don't want to put that in there. But if I'm managing a team, that's what I'm doing. And so how would I get that across? Or where would I do that?
Yeah. So I honestly, whenever I'm looking at, again, kind of those top bullet points, I'm looking for kind of that passion and kind of like Bob was saying too, that why to come through and figure out what it is that motivates you and kind of drives you forward. And if it's something like this, I mean, it's something that you're going to get excited about. And you should, by all means, like talk about it as a skill. Like don't talk about it so much focusing on who you're managing, because obviously like a team of 6-year-olds isn't going to sound as impressive maybe as like somebody, if you're up against somebody who's managed an entire company of 48-year-olds. Obviously a random example, but my point is, you can still
manage the 6-year-old.
Well, yeah, or maybe exactly, but you focus on the skills that you're looking at. You focus on that, and again, I think that passion will just kind of come through because you're talking about things that you love doing and you're really excited about.
I mean, I'm not a resume writer, he is. But
What can I say?
I would put a link, because a lot of resumes come through digitally, right? There was the day you faxed your resume, but most people don't have fax machine anymore, or know where they are. So I put a link down at mine, if you're interested in like extra stuff, click on it, and it will take them to my LinkedIn, and it will take them to that section or whatever I build out there, and they can see what I do. And I had people that actually did that. I run like a nonprofit equine therapy program for veterans, right? And so there are things in our lives that make us human beings, that make us interesting. And it can help, depending on who you are, because a hiring manager could be a veteran. You never know. So they can look at that, look at the deeper things, or they can be in a basketball, whatever they are. So they make it available, I would say, maybe at some point at the bottom of the resume to find out more, click here kind of thing. And then they can take them to more of a human element of who you are. Yeah, just don't give them your Facebook account.
Yeah, absolutely. I see that all the time. You mentioned like UI, UX designers. They'll have a link to a portfolio on there, and they'll include that in their resume. And I'll click on it, especially if it's digital and I don't have to type it. I'm looking digitally at that resume, and I'll click on that link and take a look around. As far as developers, they're often sharing their Git profiles, and so you can go in and see some of the code that they've committed and their contribution to the community. So, yeah, I know personally on my resume, depending, and this is something that Chris talks about a lot, is targeting the resume. So depending on what the opportunity is that I'm interested in, and I go and target my resume. I'm a scuba diver. I don't normally put that on my resume, but if it was something that was applicable, a first responder or some type of job I was going for with the state or something, I would highlight that, and maybe at the top under skills, a bullet, certified scuba diver or whatever.
PDF or Word doc?
Yeah.
Yeah.
PDF?
Either or.
Either or? Okay. All right.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
I've heard that the ATSs, is that the right acronym?
Yeah.
Like, can't scan PDFs, and they can, like, I was told I should have both versions, and if I think it's going through like a ATS, submit the Word doc.
My stance on it, and this is lightning round, so I'll try to keep it short.
Yeah, sorry.
But my stance on it is, I do believe that ATS can pick up on Microsoft Word better, and that's just because, like, have you ever tried to translate a PDF to a Microsoft Word document? Just not all the words actually get parsed and sent over. But I always believe, like, if you're gonna send it to a hiring decision maker, you know they're gonna get it. The PDF works great because the formatting is not going to get botched or anything like that. So, but yeah, that's a good question. Talk to me more after that if you want to know.